Hey everyone, welcome to Central Texas Gardening. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with y'all how I preserve my kale chips via dehydrating. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tear these leaves apart. Now you make sure you don't want to get these little veins that are coming off here. These are pretty thick and they don't dry out quite as quick as the leaves. So when I do tear them, I tend to just go kind of down the middle there. And if there are any thicker ones anywhere in here, I will go ahead and tear around those. These aren't too bad here, so I'm just going to toss that in my strainer there. But again, just kind of go down the middle stem. Middle stems are a little thick to dehydrate. Okay, I have my little helper here, and she's going to help me tear these leaves apart. We'll get them in the strainer here, and then we'll rinse them off. Okay, now that I have my kale dried off, we're going to go ahead and transfer them over onto our dehydrator trays. This is the dehydrator that I use. There's no particular reason why I got this one other than I think it was on sale and had good reviews. I'll stick it down in the link below. It works great. I know there's some much nicer industrial bigger ones that a lot of people get, but it kind of works for my needs. My garden's not so big that I feel like I need a huge one, but again, this one works great. We're just gonna dry the kale off. This step is really important that you do. It'll help the drying process and the dehydrator work a lot quicker if you dry it off. Again, you might not get every little bit of moisture off, but getting off what you can will help it in the process. So we'll go ahead and fill up these trays and get it on the dehydrator. Just to point out, when you're putting these in here, make sure you are leaving some good spacing in here. If there is one that's too big, you'll probably want to tear it in half. It'll kind of help out with this airflow in between each leaf in this dehydrator. So don't put like a massive leaf right on there. Try and tear them up so the air can get up all around them. Okay, I got my dehydrator set up. You'll find a lot of different temperatures and times on doing kale, but this is the one that works best for me. Is 125 degrees, and I do that for 7.5 hours, just like that. Again, this is what I use, this is what works. Sometimes if I don't dry them out completely, I'll have to bump it up to 8 hours, potentially 8.5 hours sometimes. I want to make sure it is completely dry, so I'm just a little more OCD when it comes to that. I don't want any moisture in my jars, which I'll show you here tonight when this is done, how I put it in the jars. Okay, so it's been about 8 hours and these are done dehydrating. As you can see, they've gotten a lot smaller from their original size. I'd say almost about 1/3 of the original size. A good way to tell that they're done, obviously if you don't see or feel any moisture, but just crumble it. If it crumbles really easy in your hands like that, that's pretty done. So I'm going to empty all this out into my bowl here, and I'm going to get them all crushed. So this is all the leaves right here in this bowl. Again, from when I started, they have shrunk down pretty good in size. Now from here, I will break them down into small little bits, just like I have in this jar right here. This is some other kale that I've done. I know a lot of people like to put them in blenders, and that works fine. Anything that can grind them up into little pieces of food processor. I personally just use my hands. It's just quicker. Sometimes we don't have a lot of time with 2 little kids. Put them straight into this bowl and just break them up with my hand and get it in the jar. That works fine. Just make sure you do wash your hands and make sure they are thoroughly dry before you do this. You don't want to add any moisture back into these leaves. So I'm done crushing them now. As you can see, it kind of came out to a little, I don't want to say a powder, but just little crush sizes here, which is perfect for me. I like to just toss these into soups, or I love putting these with my scrambled eggs in the morning. Just a tiny little teaspoon into my scrambled eggs with it. But you can add this to just about anything you really want, which is great about it. It makes it so easy to add it to any recipe you see. So this is my jar I keep it in. I don't vacuum seal it. I have the attachment for the food saver Sometimes I do. If I know I'm not going to be using it for a while, I'll vacuum seal it. But I've been using it so often I haven't been doing it. But it's been staying relatively dry in here. So now I'm just adding it to my jar here. Just scoop it on in, and this is definitely dried out. No moisture stayed in the leaves there. So there we go. We got it in. Put my top back on. And just like that, I dehydrated kale leaves. Doesn't look like a lot. This is probably about 5 batches worth, and it's maybe, I don't know, a little over a quarter of the way full. So you don't get a lot, but it's a good way for me to save my kale. I end up throwing away so many plants come the springtime. I thought, hey, there's got to be a way for me to, instead of just making kale chips, 3 times a day, there's got to be another way for me to be able to use it. So this is a great method to preserve your kale plants. Thank you for watching my video. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, leave them down below. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe button, and I will see y'all in the next video. Thank you.